People, did I tell you everything? It's always something. It's always something every week. Yeah, here we go. Well, welcome to the Friday News Lunch, the Bucks County Beacon, everybody. This is Kevin Mahoney, and I'm joined once again by Emily Smith, owner and publisher of the Beacon. Not only are we serving up this week's top stories affecting our community and the nation, but we're also going to take a peek behind the scenes, see what's happening at the Beacon. Of course, always cool stuff going on. Great news. We'll get into that. We're going to hope you join us live every Friday right here on YouTube, Instagram, and maybe TikTok. So here's the charge for everyone out there, right? We're trying to kind of get this like the worlds of TikTok working correctly. So we've got it running. If you've got TikTok, head over to TikTok of the Bucks County Beacon. Let us know if you're seeing it live, you're seeing any issues. That'd be awesome. Any kind of engagement you give folks on TikTok will be helpful for us on the back end, just to kind of see what that interaction looks like. So we're got our fingers crossed. So if you join us every Friday at noon, YouTube, TikTok, on the Beacon's website, buckscountybeacon.com, maybe TikTok. We'll see.
It doesn't look like TikTok's working.
No, well, we're going to figure it out. Okay. You can also join us. So head on over to YouTube then, if you're not there already, right? I don't know where else you'd be hearing this right now anyways, but I'm telling you that anyways. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the stream, and, kind of engage in this kind of community discussion. You can have live comments during the show. We can put them up on the screen for you. I'd love to hear what everybody's thinking, what's on your mind. Look, we're going to need independent, community-supported progressive media in the weeks, months, and years ahead. Would not be a better time to take a moment to head on over to buckscountybeacon.com and click on the Support the Beacon button. I did it again. Look at that. Become a supporter. You can become a monthly entry-level supporter for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month, right? Or jump right in as a regular supporter at $5 a month. Yearly supporter for as little as $50 a year. Or look, you can also drop a one-time donation to help keep the Beacon's critical lens focused and sustainable. Just go to buckscountybeacon.com, click on the Support the Beacon button, and become a supporter today. Let's check out, we'll see what's going on this week. I mean, there's too much, right? But we'll say that. But yesterday, May Day protests took place around the region and across the nation yesterday. It's amazing. Bernie Sanders joined forces with the Philadelphia AFL-CIO outside Philly City Hall for a May Day version of his Fighting Oligarchy tour. That turned out more than 5,000 people on a Thursday, right? I wanted to be there so bad, but there's no way I was getting there from work in time. What are you going to do? The Beacon's coverage by Zach Roberts. You've probably seen Zach's stuff before. Amazing photojournalist. He just does excellent work. His stuff will be up there later today. Make sure you keep on checking on the Beacon today to check out Zach's awesome work. In other news, a Trump-appointed judge in Texas ruled yesterday that Trump cannot use the Alien Enemies Act for deportations. Now, look, the ruling does not prevent the government from detaining or seeking the deportation of individuals under the Immigration and Nationality Act, but it does mark the first time that a judge has ruled that Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act is unlawful. That's a win. We'll take it. This comes on the heel of the Trump administration sending 3 American children from 2 different families to Honduras, along with their undocumented mothers last week. One of the kids, a 4-year-old boy, is in the 4th stage of a rare form of cancer. Cruelty is the point. Republicans refused to pass an amendment to their budget bill that would make it clear that ICE cannot deport U.S. citizens. Put another way, Republicans signaled to Trump that, maybe we'll let you go ahead and deport U.S. citizens. It's just insane. Trump issued a new executive order putting an end to funding for NPR and PBS. No, this is not just some random crisis email sent to whip up support for your local public radio station. No, issued yesterday, the order calls on the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, that's the main distributor of federal funds for public broadcasting, to, quote, cancel existing direct funding to the maximum extent allowed by law to NPR and PBS and decline to provide future funding. Trump also said he's revoking Harvard's tax-exempt status. It's unclear whether he can actually do this or not. But regardless, this is the world we live in. Now, that's the latest move to undermine Harvard and higher education more broadly after Harvard actually stood up and said, no, we're not following your rules. Harvard's president has said that such an action would be unlawful and would endanger, quote, our ability to carry out our educational mission. It looks like Harvard is going to continue to fight. The Beacon's got a whole lot going on this week. Teamsters leaders met in Hershey this week for the PA Conference of Teamsters annual convention. The message was clear. This is the start of the war against Amazon. Now, how about that? How about that? Ian Carble of the Pennsylvania Capital Star reports on the emerging militant posture by PA's Teamsters leadership. Indivisible Bucks County spearheaded a May Day Bring Them Home rally at Brian Fitzpatrick's Langhorne office yesterday. Melinda Rizzo reports that Indivisible's Bucks County has called on concerned citizens to flood Fitzpatrick's Langhorne office and urge him to visit the El Salvador prison where disappeared legal residents and others are being illegally warehoused. Yeah, Brian Fitzpatrick, why don't you do something, rule of law guy? And we want to welcome Naomi Weiss. Yes, welcome Naomi, a summer intern for the Beacon. Naomi's first article, Pennsylvania's Inadequate Public Education Funding, takes center stage at Community Forum in Lower Bucks County. It just dropped, literally right before we went live today. Go check it out, show her some love, share her article around, and welcome her to this awesome community. Melinda Rizzo also reports on the disturbing cases of alleged abuse of nonverbal autistic students by teachers and aides at the Jameson Elementary School in Central Bucks. Revelations come from investigations by the Disability Rights Project, who are calling for an independent grand jury investigation on the abuse allegations. Pat LaMarche reports on 18 families who were honored by the Bucks County Opportunity Council, who won their personal wars against poverty thanks to public assistance and hard work. The 18 families took part in BCOC's Economic Self-Sufficiency Program, a 5-year course that provides coaches and common necessities to people at or below the poverty line. It's a really awesome story, great bit of reporting. Just like these little gems that are happening in our community are just great to read out in the Beacon. In a special to the Beacon, a team of writers from Inside Climate News document Trump's all-out assault on the environment during his first 100 days. The AP reports and the CDC is warning that a powerful animal sedative is increasingly show up in U.S. illegal drug supply. Yes, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Chicago all have clusters. We'll talk a little about the voter guide. Yes, got to give you the update of the voter guide, that's for sure. And I was happy to see this as a bit of joy. Doylestown kicked off its Concert of the Commons series yesterday with live music from Mo Loda and the Humble and the Dave Woodward Band. Aiden Tczynski? I always get it wrong. Tczynski provides the background for the nonprofit Stage United that was created to bring greater access to live concerts in the community. The next concert on the Commons will be May 29th, featuring Jared Clemens and the Late Nights and Fallon's Religion, and a whole bunch of food trucks. Get out there, everybody. That's on May 29th. Well, look, if you don't want to wait that long, special breaking news right here. Not really breaking. People knowing about this, but I'm just going to say it that way, right? You can head to the 6th Street Block Party in Percy tomorrow between 1 and 6 p.m., located on the short block of 6th Street between Mystic Ways Brewing and the Ram. Live music includes the band Stateside, the Underdogs, Scrap Iron, and Two Beards in a Bush. While you're in town, you can also check out the Art in the Park at Bucks County Community College in Percy from 12 to 4, which features local artists, performers, arts and crafts activities, and yes, more live music. Gotta love it. Summer is right around the corner, everybody. Emily, happy Friday. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm trying to have us go live on TikTok as we speak. So who knows if it's working?
Who knows? Yeah. So if there is anybody out there wants to check their TikTok to see if you are seeing anything, it's surprisingly, I love these things about, online services and platforms and all that, is that you have folks that will put up videos, or there'll be these guides that'll say like, oh, it's a piece of cake just to go live on TikTok. First you go here, you go here, you go here. But then when you actually get into it, you find out that the button that they say you're supposed to press doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Or has recently been changed. So we shall see.
It's true. I think we are maybe going live, but I can't tell what's happening. So I'm like screen sharing a screen, and now I can only see you because of the layout I picked. So I don't know.
So I could just basically go like, Emily, are you there? Emily?
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
Voice only. Yeah. God knows, dude. It's so complicated. Technology.
Yay!
Yay.
This is we're giving you the real behind the scenes inside scoop of
Yes.
like what actually happens, like the
This
inner
is-
workings of the Beacon right here on the Friday News Lunch. Gotta love it.
Yeah, this is how it works.
This
We
is how
don't
we do
we don't
it.
beta test. We don't alpha test. We just go for it.
I got to go for it, right? I love that.
Yeah.
It's the DIY punk rock mentality, right? Learn as you do.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and I don't. Something's happening. It says we're going live, but God knows. I don't even know how to find it on TikTok
Yeah.
because, you know.
Well, it's not like you're doing 4 things at once, Emily.
I know. I'm
That always
literally
makes
trying
it
to talk to you and do this at the same time, and it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm a half a screen right now.
I totally know it. Well, I gotta say, yesterday was a pretty cool. I mean, it was great to see kind of another round of May Day protests. There was, there's this. I almost call it like the bubble of disbelief is getting kind of like popped right now. Whereas after the hands off rallies where we had such an amazing kind of turnout, and then you had these quick calls for like another protest. It was like last weekend, and then the May Day protest. People were like, oh, I don't know if we're gonna be able to organize in that amount of time, and nope, people are doing it. This was actually a kind of cool test for May Day because it's during the week. Right now, most of these were taking place kind of at the end of the workday, so it wasn't kind of quite like general strike level. But it definitely felt like, okay, we're gonna try this. We're gonna do something in the middle of the week, and we're gonna start to signal this kind of next level. So it was pretty impressive to see as many as at least 5,000 people down in Philadelphia. And I know there was another rally in Quakertown that kind of I don't know what the final numbers there. We knew it was smaller than the one for the hands-off rally, but it was the middle of the workday. You had probably like 25, 50 people kind of out there with signs kind of as part of the May Day rally. Things are happening in Doylestown. Things are happening kind of all around the county. It was absolutely amazing to see that kind of keep on going. And then we've got another big event planned for June 14th, I think. Is coming up, so look ahead.
Flag Day? Is that Flag Day?
Yes, that's it. Flag Day. It's going to be
Okay.
on Flag Day, and it's going to called a No Kings protest. You can check it out. I think it's nokings.com right now. I think the nokings.org. Go to nokings.org, and this is it. It says on June 14th, Flag Day, and it's also Donald Trump's birthday, which is going to make it fun.
That's funny.
Yep. So Donald Trump for his birthday wants tanks in the street and made for TV display of dominance for his birthday, a spectacle meant to look like strength. But the real power isn't staged in Washington. It rises up elsewhere. On June 14th, we rise up. Take the pledge. No kings, right? It's so you can sign up right now for just to get on the list to kind of inform about where it's happening, what's going on. But it looks like this is going to be the next big mobilization. Indivisible is behind this. There's a whole, I mean, they're not the only ones. There's a whole, again, once again, a coalition of organizations from the 50-51 kind of mobilization organization. They're kind of part of this whole. So this is going to be another big day of mobilization. And I think that we need to give Donald Trump a really big birthday present on that day. So this is good. I'm glad to see that, and the emphasis on local organizing continues. And instead of it just being one big day in Washington, D.C., nope. Once again, we're going to see mobilizations around the country. And I think this is going to become all that much more important as we're seeing, U.S. citizens being deported, kids being deported. It's been horrific. It's been horrific.
Yeah. So just as an update on TikTok.
Yeah. And this is the breaking news. We're going to keep this ticker going all throughout the show today, everybody.
There are some people. Oh, live. Hold on. Go to live studio. Couldn't connect. Damn it. There's people watching on TikTok and I can't figure out what's going on. It says we're live. It says we're live.
Here, I'm gonna pull it up.
I can't look at it, and there's like 5 people, 6 people watching. But I
Hey,
don't know what they're
everybody.
watching.
All right, if you are actually indeed watching on TikTok, that's awesome. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull up on my end so that we'll be able to kind of comment to that eventually. So I'm going to say this to everybody on TikTok right now. Eventually, what should happen once we get all these kinks kind of worked out. This is our first time actually kind of coordinating all this. We should be able to import the comments, right? As people are kind of commenting throughout the show, that should start showing up directly in our little studio here. So if we're not responding to you right now, that's the only reason why. But it's awesome that you're checking it out. And we're going to figure that kink out for the future. Well, that's really good. Let me see if I can see it here. I know this is actually riveting, everybody. This is actually riveting kind of Friday news lunch, but this is how we roll, and this is what we're going to do.
This is important. This is important stuff.
I
mean, it looks like there's like 10 people watching it, but I don't know. Like, I've got a preview, but I don't know what if they're seeing what I'm seeing.
Okay. Well, here I'm bringing mine up right now.
Yeah.
Yep, we got a live. Okay, there's a weird, so it's a strange kind of thing. So I don't know if you can see this.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that's what it looks like.
Yes.
So we've got this big like camera crossed out below that.
Yes. I mean, I can't get rid of that unless I share my camera, which is like a weird.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's kind of the other end of the issue that we had before we went live.
Oh, there. Today. How about that? Now, Kevin.
Let me try. Oh, yep, it went away. The camera went away.
Okay.
See this? This is like the funhouse mirror for people watching on TikTok right now.
Boy, I wonder if I can. I know. It's like it'll just keep going forever.
Yeah. So hey, yes, I see this. There's folks watching.
Look, there's 2 of us now.
Yep. Look at this. So hey, look, if anybody is any of you who are watching this right now on TikTok, if you want to just kind of, I'll throw a comment in there. That would be awesome. Look, Emily's actually moving screens around now and things like this. And now we have doubles and triples.
Who should be on top, Emily or Kevin?
I don't care.
I'm asking TikTok and I can't see their.
Oh, you're asking TikTok?
I'm asking TikTok.
Oh, I see what you're doing. So we just have to figure out ways of kind of automating that so that it's just going to actually go there, so you don't have to do this manually, right?
Yeah, it should do it in Riverside.
Riverside should flip it. That's what I'm surprised that we're seeing it that way. So there's got to be some features in there.
Well, I'm doing a workaround. That's.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
This is me figuring it out. There we go.
Look at that. We're almost doing it, folks.
Almost. I hope everyone's enjoying themselves. We'll start talking about something else momentarily when I'm done.
Hey JT, what's going on? I see you there. You know what? I'm just going to keep it up. I'm going to keep it up on my my screen here. So if our folks that are joining, that's one way of kind of engaging, even if we're not talking about.
Okay, now let's talk about other stuff. I'm done messing with this.
All right, good.
Oh, I might have made you a little wide.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, you got my big ass head all sitting right there.
I know. I can't tell if it's the video or your head.
Yeah, I got this like giant pumpkin head. I mean, literally, that was like one of my nicknames when I was a kid, Pumpkinhead. And this makes it almost there. But yeah, it looks like the stream froze for some reason. I don't know why.
Yes.
Now it's back again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, everybody. Sorry.
Okay, let's get back to our show. Whatever happens from here on out on TikTok, good luck.
Yep. Good luck, everybody.
Okay.
Hey, Sniper Kitty. Sniper Kitty just joined. How you doing, Sniper Kitty? That's good.
Okay.
What
were we talking about?
Yeah. So, we just talked about one. We've got the we're talking about the May Day rallies and upcoming the No Kings protest, which will be taking place on June 14th. We've got so we're here. We've got kind of month and a half, right, to kind of plan for that and kind of thinking about meaningful action, what that looks like, and so on. You can go to nokings.org and sign up for kind of info. I know there is I was in a meeting about this last night, and there's all the kind of like coalition partners, if you will, folks that are actually working together to like on this event. They're still kind of bringing everything together so they can figure out who's going to be taking leads in different areas and that kind of stuff. But it is kind of very similar to what was going on with the hands-off protest, that you've got a broad base of organizations that are working together, and it's going to be an important event. And I look at everything that's been going on. I mean, if you look at the deportations that have been taking place, I mean, that alone is, reason to be out there in the streets, saying, no, that we are not going to allow this. We are not going to allow this turn towards authoritarianism and fascism and so on.
Right. Yes. I wish that I would have gone to any of these protests. Bernie kept emailing me. I think he's going to be in Harrisburg tomorrow.
I know he's going to be in Bethlehem tomorrow. He might be Bethlehem in one part of the day, Harrisburg in the next. I mean, that's definitely the way he rolls.
Yeah.
I signed up for the one in Bethlehem, to go to one in Bethlehem tomorrow. And depending on, like, I mean, you know how it goes. We're talking about the way 4 other things that are happening at the same time, whether or not I can get, mostly with my kids, right, get that kind of like we can get this stuff sorted out, then maybe
I know, as I witnessed my daughter's tennis racket in the background. Perfect.
Yeah, good. Yep.
All right, what else we got, Kevin?
Yeah, we got lots. So we have, the deportation, what's going on, I have to say, what made my week, I'm going to tell you my contrast of my week, just a sense of the way that this works. On one night, it just broke my heart. We're sitting at dinner and my daughter asked me, is it true that they just deported 3 children to Central America?
I know.
And having to say, yes, that's true. And one of them had cancer.
Yeah, I know.
And, I mean, and again, I was like, this is like the moment of, that just kind of wrecked me for the night. I'll be honest. And at the same time, I'm like, you know what? One, kudos to her for want to check and say, okay, you want to make sure this is not just BS that you're finding online, but this is actually something that's actually happened. But then also seeing her just like absolute rage and devastation at the same time was just crazy. But then the next day, this is like the other side of it. We saw that a judge in Vermont ordered that Moshe Mawadawi, who was a Columbia University Palestinian activist who was abducted by ICE, or we're finding out now it's kind of like the Department of Homeland Investigations. So it is this kind of like quasi-militarized wing of the Department of Homeland Security, which up until recently have not heard what the heck this was, didn't even know it existed. But they're apparently the ones that abducted him. And due to the fact that he was networked with activists and the lawyers got right on it, they prevented him from being kind of immediately deported, and the judge ordered him released. What was amazing about this is that he came out and there was people there to greet him as they're coming out of the jail after 10 days of confinement on no charges, right? And he was actually going to his citizenship meeting, right, to take his citizenship thing. And that's when he was abducted. He came out and he said, I've got a message for the Trump administration and his cabinet, that I am not afraid, that they have fear, but when we reject the fear, what stands in its place is love. And he says, for anybody, this is what he said, if for anybody doubting justice, this is a light of hope and faith in the justice system of America. That dude, right, coming out, and then the crowd went crazy, right? And I think in part because you expect, right, what we're conditioned to believe is the fear will take over, so we put our heads down. And here you got someone who was actually abducted coming out and say, I'm not afraid. And that's just more of that, please. So that was this kind of week for me, those two things that as the book ends. So.
Yeah. We are not afraid.
Yeah. I mean, how important that is. How important that is.
I mean, God bless them. If I were not a U.S. citizen, I would be afraid right now.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's really heartening to see that there are immigrants in our country that are standing up to whatever this rise of authoritarianism is.
100%. Caroline 310, thank you for the like on TikTok. It looks like it's still running well. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
As you say that, it says live disconnected.
Yeah, great. Yeah, see what I'm doing?
I've got some kind of unstable connection. I apologize, everyone. I leave too many tabs open in my... And I'm not changing it.
I think I've got it. Well, we'll talk about this. We're going to like generate possible fixes of this in real time right now. But yeah. So, but then, a bunch of other things. So, I mean, that's happened at the same time. We see, like, how many times have you gotten an email over the years saying like they're threatening to get rid of Sesame Street, right? And it turns out that yes, the Republicans have always wanted to get rid of public broadcasting. They've always wanted to get rid of NPR. Sesame Street, however, is now in the private hands of HBO. But put that aside. But this was for real. So this time around, it wasn't just a threat. It wasn't just Republican talking points. But this time around, we see that Trump has actually ordered the cancellation of fundings for NPR and PBS. And cancel. And my understanding is, at least what what's her name? Catherine Mayer. She's the NPR director. So she estimated that in March alone, that the radio, just NPR, would lose. That was expected to get $120 million from the Corporation of Public Broadcasting for that month. That's gone. Right. And that would be also true. Now, it only works out to be, thank goodness that this that still only represents about 5% of their operating budget. But still, that's a significant chunk that's taken out of of that support, and it's going to have it's going to be a devastating impact. But, all the more reason. That's why we keep on plugging this every single time we run these shows, right? To head on over to BucksCountyBeacon.com and hit that support the Beacon button, because the more that we have that we're relying upon our community, right, to make this happen, right, to build and expand and like this network, the more that insulates us from, whatever, from any kind of advertisers or single funders or kind of any of that kind of stuff, right? So that's what I know Emily has been like, literally does this practically in her sleep, is working on ways of kind of making sure that this is going to be sustainable for the future. And, the more that you help out with that, BucksCountyBeacon.com, hit the support the Beacon button. The more that we're be able to kind of build this into like an ever growing and more impactful media organization. So.
Yeah. And like, with NPR and PBS, it's the same thing as what we try to do here is there are different places, different legs of the stool that you're trying to get money from, so that no one piece is going to be the devastation of the organization. Right. So, so it should all be able to hold itself up together. That's the key. And that's what we're trying to build by having reader revenue. And then we get some grant funding from different sources when I go apply. And then, there's major philanthropic funding, that's not grants. And then there's advertising, and then there's like RSS syndication, which shout out Newsbreak. We did good this month on Newsbreak.
Nice.
Yeah, we made a decent amount. We're back up on there. So that's good.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Hey to Pappy4D. Welcome to the stream on TikTok. At the least, for those folks who are kind of joining in on TikTok, and you're going to hear me throughout today, really just try to shout out people as they're coming in, if I can. This is our first time working with
Yes.
our platform. Trying to hook it up with TikTok. There's been clearly glitches, as you can see. But this is why we're totally psyched that some folks are joining in, because this is precisely what we were hoping, so that we can hear back from you what that experience is like right here. We can kind of get a sense of some of the stream. It's like a little bit laggy. And also that we had to do some workarounds in order to get it up and running today, but hopefully that's going to be with the next couple of weeks that we'll have those kinks worked out. So I appreciate everybody who's kind of popping in right now. That's fantastic. There we are.
I'd really like TikTok Live Studio to stop telling me when my stream is
your stream is in jeopardy of falling.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
and this week, I mean, if you look at what's going on in the Beacon right now, I mean, this was just absolutely like awesome coverage, range of coverage, which kind of really highlights everything this week. I was thrilled to see this coverage, coming here from Ian Carbell from the Pennsylvania Capital Star. Had a piece that came that the Beacon published kind of as well, that was it was the coverage of the Teamsters meeting, the PA Conference of Teamsters in Hershey this week. And there's been some, let's say, some disappointing moves at the top of the Teamsters leadership over this past year, in terms of what seemed to one before the election seemed to be a little bit of, okay, Teamsters are back, and then it seems just cozying up to Trump back and forth. That really kind of upset a bunch of rank and file Teamsters. But now, at least here in Pennsylvania, at that kind of conference, they are kind of going all in and going at Amazon. The Teamsters have been organizing Amazon warehouse workers and drivers for quite some time now. Amazon continually, has all sorts of unfair labor practices charges brought against them, does everything to try to break the union in ways that are very, let's just say, looks like they are maybe illegal if we actually had a working National Labor Relations Board. But Teamsters are basically doubling down on that and saying, okay, just because Jeff Bezos is palling up with Donald Trump doesn't mean that we're going to kind of go into a hole. No, we're going to stand and we're going to fight. So that was really good to see.
But doesn't the Trump administration hate Amazon now too?
Oh no, they're friends again.
Oh.
No, they're friends again.
I've been busy.
Yeah, no. Jeff Bezos, turns out there was talk that Amazon was going to put a little tariff charge, saying this is how much is for the tariff. But Trump got really upset and called up Jeffy Boy, right? And they had a great chat, right?
Oh,
and Jeffy fixed it all, right? And he fixed it all, and then he decided that, as a consolation prize, he'll just take another kind of ride up in his penis rocket and kind of take a look at the earth and come back down, and then all is going to be good, and he's going to take care of Donald Trump. So Jeff Bezos came out then and said, no, this was a mistake. We were just considering doing this on our Amazon Hall kind of, platform,
right.
But we would never do that to you, Donnie boy. So they made up, they kissed and made up, and it's fine.
Oh, so, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah, no, it was touch and go there for a good 20 minutes after the story broke. But I was actually, when I first heard that story, I was like, that's awesome. Okay. Right. I'll take that. And then nope, it goes right away.
We thought we had a tech oligarch on our side for a second.
Yeah. But on the other side, but Timu was doing it.
Yeah.
So I had a story here. I'm not going to be able to find it right now in this, but they had a story. This one woman, a Trump voter. I love how they keep on profiling the Trump voters who are now like, hey, wait a minute, that's not what I signed up for. But she was a big fan of Temu, right? She would get on there and buy all this kind of cheap, good stuff, and she was loved the site, and she's like, even called it addictive. That's a whole different other problem, that why we need
Right.
to deal with these social media oligarchs, right? For a whole thing. But
Right.
anyway, she said she did. And she's like, well, normally she's like, I put stuff in my cart and should have cost me $93 for everything I had in there. But then she noticed when she's going to check out, there was another $86
Yeah.
tariff charge on top of that.
Yeah.
And so she was
I
like,
mean,
oh, nope.
I think it's kind of interesting with, Temu, whatever it's called. Um, it's all coming from China, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So like most of our stuff from Amazon is coming from China. And I think it's interesting, while I think the tariffs are ridiculous, I think it's interesting to think about the actual cost of bringing things across an ocean.
Yes.
And like, to be like, the real price to bring this stuff across the ocean is way more than you think. Not to mention the price for the environment.
Absolutely. Right. And
Yeah.
like, and if we go, I was looking at it earlier. I got, this is like other rabbit holes I went on this morning. But looking at, I was just kind of like curious. I wanted to do a comparison with um well, here, I'll give you the backstory. So last night at this one meeting I was at, we were talking about, just came up in conversation about, the Solar for Schools program, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like, I guess PA just kind of closed out its applications at the beginning of the year for that first pilot of it. And then Pennsylvania also has these solar programs, right? For businesses and
Hmm.
for organizations and things like this. And I
Yeah.
happened to be looking at that in my class, in my classes, because we were looking at, doing like overhead shot of Kutztown University, and you notice that there's all these big flat roofs,
Yeah.
right? And so I can't remember even how we got on this, but it was like, look, so what would that look like? Well, okay, how much would it cost? Well, first of all, let's talk about a process of how you go and think about costs. And let's say, okay, what does the state have and so on? So we looked it up in real time. What is the Pennsylvania stuff? And it was kind of cool. And I've been thinking in the back of my head for a long time, it'd be awesome to have, like, start talking with our school board here about starting bringing that solar panels in here as a way, in schools. Because again, huge flat surfaces baking in the sun all day long, and a
Yeah.
summer when
Right.
there's hardly any energy use would be nothing but generating electricity, right?
Right.
But anyways, so we're
If
talking
you
about
had
that.
enough battery banks to store the energy.
Well, or it's fed into the grid and sold, right? I mean,
Yeah. You
that's the
don't
other.
get that much.
No, no, you don't get that much, but it would be like, in terms of like deferral of cost, right? In terms
Yeah.
of like, of actually doing something that's going to actually have
Yeah.
an impact on the kind of environment. It's going to assist with the
Yeah.
transition, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, right? So yeah, and it's not. I mean, if you're just looking at it just in terms of like, like a balance sheet and things like this, it's not like, a whirlwind of money coming your way. It doesn't work that way.
No.
But so that's like what you were talking about, that stuff, and then it turns out that at least from what I was told, someone on the call kind of works in this area was saying, well, that money is going away, right?
Yeah.
Because of a lot of that money came from federal government, that was coming from either, the Inflation Reduction Act or other kind of monies that was coming from federal government. And so all those subsidies that were there, that were available, either through loans and grants from the state, are going to disappear.
Yeah. What I can say, because I have some personal knowledge of this through my borough council, there were grants and loans available before that have already been funded, and those are not going away if they've already been funded.
Yep.
So we got one for solar on our municipal buildings. So we are in the process of bidding that, I think. And as a note, like, I live in a small town, and I think the cost for us to put solar on our buildings is going to be in the range of $350,000. We don't have that many buildings.
Yeah.
But I think we have two separate pieces. We have a loan that we're getting that's maybe no interest or something like
Hmm.
that. I don't know. And then we have some kind of grant also. Um, but yeah, it's going away, except for the people that are, if the money left the federal government, went to the state
Yep.
government, then you'll still get to have that program. But if someone was like, yeah, I would like to think about doing this in my school district or my municipality, it's gone. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's disappointing.
No, it's crazy. And so, we're talking about that, and that's kind of like was one of the contexts. And then So this morning I started looking at, but just out of curiosity, I would just do a point of comparison of like subsidies for the fossil fuel industry versus, like, renewables and this other stuff. And it's like dwarfed. It's something like, it's, there's $3 billion, right? This is one of the numbers. Well, there's different ways of calculating this, but $3 billion just in direct subsidies, like directly to the fossil fuel companies, right? $3 billion. Then
drill, baby, drill.
$283 billion in indirect subsidies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes into the impacts caused by this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Everything from direct health impacts, from burning this crap, from drilling the crap, from all that stuff, to transportation subsidies, kind of like shipping things from China, right? So instead of actually, doing that, the cost that goes into the subsidy of those, those giant ships, right, in order to get us cheap crap, right, that actually goes in there. So you start like looking at it. So that's how that was the hole I was down. And it's like, exactly, these are the actual costs. And I was thinking, imagine that if that was on your receipt, right?
Yeah.
Here's the cost in healthcare costs that this cost you, right? Here's the cost.
Imagine if they put that on the crappy food that they sell in the grocery store.
It'd be wonderful. It'd be wonderful.
Right. You've lost 4 years of your life.
Yes, exactly.
Twinkies.
Exactly. Exactly. That'd be great. For every one of these, you lose 10 minutes.
Right. Fossil fuels burned. Right. The Earth. Right. You've also lost. The Earth has lost 20 minutes.
Right? No, exactly. Well, and that's what, and you look at that one piece that that you had in the Beacon too, is like, the special for the Beacon from Inside Climate News. There is several researchers and writers that were kind of collaborative on that piece, documenting about this all-out assault on the environment, the Trump administration, just in the first 100 days, right? Yeah. And it really is the kind of stuff that makes your head spin about how much has been attacked in a very short period of time.
Right. Yeah. I can tell you the other week when I was in Arizona, I was at the Lake Mead National Recreation Area, and there was like a huge section of it was closed. Now, it doesn't say why it was closed. I can't determine that exactly.
There's a little sign, closed for maintenance, or what?
They had whole roads shut down. They had them like blockaded and everything. And I was
really?
Yeah, it was really weird. But I had never been there before, so I don't know if it's different than it was before. But it did make me think, what's Trump trying to get into in Lake Mead? I mean, besides water, obviously. Right.
Yep.
Water rights and all that stuff. So, it's... Yeah, all I can do is shake my head at
I know.
Yeah.
I know, it's pretty crazy. But this is the kind of stuff here. The other thing I just want to give a shout out to Melinda Rizzo's continued great reporting of local cases. I mean, I think her reporting has added such a great dimension of of these cases that are happening kind of around Bucks County. Her coverage there of looking at, like was mentioned at the top of the show, the alleged abuse of these autistic kids at Jamieson Elementary School in Central Bucks, and the really amazing work of the Disability Rights Project, and pushing out a report and calling for an independent jury, grand jury investigation. Getting great coverage in the Beacon right there. And it's just been really good stuff. The one thing I wanted to make sure I give the shout out again is to Naomi Weiss. Maybe give us a little kind of intro to Naomi and her piece if you want.
Yeah. So Naomi reached out to us a couple months ago, looking for an internship. And, it's really interesting because I guess people take us seriously now and they want to be a part of what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So it's always cool when someone who goes to Pitt, comes to us and says she wants to work for us. But Naomi is from Bucks County and she's back home for the summer. So she is going to be our summer writing intern. We're very excited about that. She's a good writer. She's, I think she's going to school for literature and poli-sci maybe. So a really good combo for us. Um, and Melinda is going to take her under her wing.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's, I mean, Cyril has enough on his plate while he's, overseeing the whole thing. Melinda's going to give some pointers. So that's going to be, I think that's going to be great, you know. And she only started a couple days ago, and her first article has already been published. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, that was awesome that it went live right before right before we're on
Yeah.
today, so we can kind of plug her work and welcome her to the
Yes.
Beacon. Yeah.
Yes.
And check it out. I mean, you look at her first article here. This is amazing. Pennsylvania's inadequate public education funding takes center stage at community forum Lower Bucks County. I mean, that is the reporting that we want. I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, this is exactly it. So
yeah, it's awesome.
it's fantastic. I'm just looking at other stuff that we got here. I feel like I have to consistently like apologize to everybody today. I think that we're like discombobulated kind of a bit. It's been that kind of week, and plus we're kind of trying some new tech stuff here. So sorry for a little jumbled this week. For those folks who are finding us for the first time on TikTok right now, I can promise you
we're more organized usually.
this is a you will not have this experience of us like, hey, well, what are you doing this? How are we going to make this work? Well, look, it's working. And no,
I literally had this thought this morning before we got on before the show. I had this thought this morning that like when I have these big projects like this, I should try to time when we do the different tech things so that they don't all happen at the same time.
Yeah, well,
it's really not great because I'm trying to do too many things at the same time. So
no,
yeah.
But at the same time, that's kind of the way life works, especially doing this kind of work. So, yeah. So I mean, it's and I've said this before, is like I've always been and I have to say, much to the chagrin of some of my colleagues at work, right? When I'm working with students, right? There's the real planners who want you to have everything kind of ready to go and everything like this before you do it. And again, I'm all for that, right? I mean,
right.
I'm not saying don't do that, right? I'm saying no, that's good. But I'm also someone who's like been doing this for a while and know the reality of the situation. So if you're working for a big company that's got all these resources and all, that's what you want to do. However, when you're trying to kind of, really start things, when you're really trying to do things on the fly and maybe have a bigger, you're basically punching like way above your, your weight class, so to speak, to really, and do it well. This is, part of what that means. And there's something to be said to, getting your hands dirty and kind of working it out as you're going along, and including, right, your community in that discussion. So
don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
100%.
That's where I exist in the world.
So. Yeah. I literally had this conversation with a student who is she's going into, I want to say she's going into her senior year or just graduating, one of these two, and she wants to start doing this podcasting, right? She's already been doing some of this stuff, and this is what I we talked about, and she went through all her plans and all that other kind of stuff, and I said, there's a lot to be said. It sounds like you got a lot, you're already trying out your equipment, you're already testing that stuff. You are so far ahead of the game, like already in that you have a space planned about when you want to do. Great. And I said, but don't get stuck in the planning phase forever. Right. I said, it's okay. It's like, if you're honest about it, and I really believe that, right? If you're honest and you're straightforward about where you're at and what you're doing, right, you're going to find people, right, that are going to be in your audience, that are going to be out there. They're going to, whether we're kind of readers or whether we're watchers, that are going to appreciate that, because you're being real. You're not trying to kind of pull the wool over someone's eyes. You're basically trying to say, this is what it actually is. And I don't know. I mean, I always kind of end up in that camp, right? I have my whole life. So
me too. And also, like, if you're starting a podcast or anything like that, just as a general note, You might be shouting into the void for years before anyone starts listening.
Exactly what I said.
So why not just start, you know?
Yeah,
You can delete those later.
Totally. And again, here's like a one. I'll give this one to free to anybody who wants to do any kind of podcasting whatsoever, because of exactly what Emily just said. Is that if you're doing things, you know, especially early on, and you're doing it, especially if you're doing it by yourself, right?
Yeah.
If there's time, if you have a guest and things like this, it's a little bit easier because you're talking to somebody about stuff. But if you're doing things on your own, kind of in between, just sitting there and talking to nobody, what it seems like, it could be really discouraging at times. But then you have no sense of what's going on. So I said, it's like, you know what, this is where like props become really good.
Yeah.
Right, because you want to have the conversation. So what you basically do, if you have an article that you're talking about, right, you basically say like, so check this out. Here's this article. Here's the thing that it says, and then you look up again, and then you're kind of talking, right? So you're actually modeling a conversation. Little podcasting tip.
Mahoney.
There you go. There you go.
You had a little class with Dr. Mahoney. Let's go.
I could, that kind of stuff I could do all day.
Yeah.
Assessment bullshit, however, excuse me, no. Not the crap that they have us do that then they don't even read.
Right. It's just part of the process.
All right, here's my vent, my one vent of the day. Okay, so I want to do two things. So one, when my grading is done for this semester, I may actually write this piece because I've been taking notes on it. So the Kutztown University's president, President Kenneth Hawkinson, he just announced his retirement last year, so he's leaving, right? The two finalist candidates were basically, I mean, literally, you look at their pictures, they're like clones of this guy, number one. And I'm not saying anything about whether or not
it takes a certain type of person to want that job.
Yeah, apparently, kind of like bald older white men, right, is what kind of like tends to, right? But so I mean, I don't want to knock somebody coming in yet, right? So I'm not trying to equate it too much. But the big thing is that this is a guy that we've been in like practically hand-to-hand combat with like his entire time here, from getting like black mold mitigated from the building that I used to work in, right, for 20 years, right, having and facing denial that somehow that they'd come in, so we found there's no problem. So we have to, like, Mike Gambone, right, who actually writes for the Beacon, would be up there pulling ceiling tiles down coated with black mold, and he would walk them over to the president's office and put them in the office to prove that indeed we are breathing in black mold in our buildings, right? To like dead animals in the walls that they said, we have no idea. There's nothing we can do, right? Because apparently no one thought that, like, oh, the screwdriver works on the screw in that vent that you can pull off to remove the dead animal, like crap like that. But then there's more serious things, like the denial of ADA claims, like of accommodations to folks with disabilities who are during COVID. Like one guy, Stephen Oros, who I've talked about extensively over the years, friend of mine, I had open heart surgery, right, and like worked his butt off to kind of get back stuff and was able to come back in the fall. But those doctors said, look, we're still in the middle of COVID. You get COVID, you're done. Right. So you can go back, but you have to do it online. Right. And he asked for a reasonable accommodation so that he could teach his classes online. They denied it. And then after 2.5-3 years of lawsuits, right, against them, we find out, turns out Hawkinson led the charge and to be able to kind of say, we're going to redo our ADA policy and issue blanket denials of anyone who asks for accommodations, right, which is a violation of the law, which the judge said it was a blatant violation of the law, right? So anyways, and I could go on and on and on about this.
Yeah.
So they built a new admission center at Kutztown, which is going here, and they just announced this week that they're naming it after him. And so my little joke of the week has been like, the biggest innovation about the admission center is that, it's named after Hawkinson and it's powered by gaslight. Right? That's the thing. The second thing is, this is where, the state system of higher education and people who want to know where your tax dollars are going. there was another big lawsuit that happened up in Bloomsburg University, which is now the Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania, because they consolidated with Mansfield and Lockhaven, I think. Bashar Hanna, this was in the news too as well. Bashar Hanna has become increasingly under fire, right? He had multiple kind of allegations or reports filed against him when he was the dean at Kutztown, right? And went up to, then was basically told to leave and given good recommendations so that they could get him out of Kutztown, but they never had him held him accountable for what he did while he was at Kutztown, which I'm not going to get into now because I don't want to say it too quickly and cause problems. So then he goes around, he ends up the president of Bloomsburg and then kind of the president of that Commonwealth stuff, and just lost something like a $39 million lawsuit for workplace violations, right? And again, you could read about that if you wanted to. So what did they do after this lawsuits and after there's been multiple complaints filed against him? They gave him the vice presidency in the Commonwealth, like in Harrisburg, as part of the state system of higher education. Right?
Yeah. I mean, but hasn't the chancellor of the state system of higher education changed like a bunch over the last couple of years?
No, they've had it. We changed. We changed like 6 years ago, maybe. And that's that we had the guy come in that used to run the higher education division for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's higher ed stuff. He came in with all his like tech suaviness and decided that he was going to consolidate everything and cause basically reductions of force, just like Trump does, except all with a good smile and a gleam of his teeth.
Yeah. Right. Chancellor Fiorentino is the new.
He came out of Westchester, and actually he was, I believe, the provost down at Westchester when it was exposed, thanks to, in part, Colleen Bradley and this guy, about Colleen Bradley was an assistant vice president of administration and finance who blew the whistle on the fact that Westchester, and the same thing that we were tracking at Kutztown and same other, we're keeping two sets of books. Right, there had a books that reported that this is why we have no money and why we need to cut everything, was presented to faculty and the broader public. Meanwhile, the internal books were showing that they're flush with cash. Right, and it was a little accounting trick that you do that basically says like, okay, we want to build this building in 10 years, so we're going to put money in a savings account. Again, not knocking that, good idea to save for stuff. But to mark that then as an expense on your accounting things, as if the money were gone. Right. And so you're basically saying, and then basically saying, well, we have no money. And this was discretionary funds they could use for whatever they wanted to do. And this is what they were doing, pet projects by administrators. So Chris Fiorentino was, I believe, I want to say the provost or vice president down at Westchester when all that was going on. Right now, having said that, and then he became, I think, president of Westchester for a while. Having said that, he was not the evil one in the in the overall story, right? I mean, we could raise questions.
There is a silver lining.
Well, we could say that maybe he could have done more and the whole bunch of stuff like that, but at least he wasn't evil. Right? But I mean, this guy's a new chancellor, and this is one of the first things that happens. I mean, that's you're going to start your time there as chancellor with that kind of stain on your record of promoting this guy. Anyways, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bernie just sent me another text, just as a Bernie Sanders. That
What's he doing now? Bernie Sanders. Yeah.
He says. He's fighting against oligarchs. Yep. That's it.
That's it.
Continuing to the fighting. He'll be joined by his colleague in the House, Chris DeLuzio.
Oh wait, is Chuck Schumer going to join him on this tour?
I don't know.
Chuck Schumer's a little too busy fighting the car tax, that $20 car tax.
Right.
He got really pissed off about that on TikTok this week.
Yeah, Bernie's just trying to raise money for Chris DeLuzio right now.
There you go.
That's all I got on that one.
All right. Breaking news, everybody. Breaking news.
Breaking news. Yeah. Sorry, Bernie's picture came up on my watch, and I was like, "What are you doing, Bernie?"
Hey, what's happening? Yeah.
Yeah. What else do we need to talk about?
Well, I was going to just turn it to you. So we got a great stuff happening in the Beacon.
Oh,
So,
no.
one gave us the update of Naomi. Welcome, Naomi. But kind of, I'll turn it over to you. What we got going on in the Beacon right now, and things that people should be paying attention to.
Yeah. So I have been buried in my computer, working on the voter guide. It's really, I think people think it's magic, and it's not. Last year when we did a voter guide, it was for federal and state elections, which have a whole different set of places and people that are involved. So I have to build a whole new thing for the municipal elections, because it's judges, school boards, and municipal electeds. So we have all of the people imported. So we've got all the candidates imported into our website, 378 by my last count. And I've got the menu built, and I've got the county offices fed in, and I've got the judges fed in, and I'm halfway through the school boards, and then I have to do all the municipal ones. So Monday, Tuesday.
Oh, really? You'll think you'll be through that by early next week?
It is just time consuming.
Yeah.
It's really about, like, I don't know if people understand how any of this works, but it's really about like matching the names on things. Like, I have all these categories, and then I just have to make the things that pull in the people that are associated with those categories. I have to make the section that says Ben Salem, you know, and then I have to make the anchor that makes the button at the top go to that spot.
Yep.
It's so it's not like it's hard work, it's just tedious. But yeah, I'm working through it. So I hope for Monday or Tuesday. It'll definitely be next week. I have other things on my list that I need to get through, so it must be done, because we are also what? Yeah.
No, I was going to say. So when you get all this, will the voter guide also show categories or offices that people are not running for, or will be only ones with the candidates that are pulling them?
No, I'm not showing inspector of elections or judges of elections. And it won't show that it'll just be blank, right? Like, if there's no one running. So I have all the categories in there, and then there just won't be anything. So if we don't have any information, it just has their name.
It just has their name.
And then it goes to a blank page of theirs.
Gotcha.
And I might change that a little bit. See, that's the thing. You have to get everything in and get it sorted, and then go through and look at it and see, like, under the school boards, there's, they cross file, and the judges cross file. Mm-hmm. So I have two different categories in the spreadsheet, one for what their party registration is, and one for what primary ballot they're on, or both. So like, I have to add that in to the template that shows their little pictures.
Yeah.
So that it says, because right now it just says Democrat or Republican, but it doesn't have the part that says they're going to be on both ballots.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part to add, but that's like after I get everything else in. So,
yeah. Man, well, I'm so looking forward to this. I can't even tell you. And so here I got charges for everybody out there, kind of about this. So once it does launch, right?
Yeah. Please look at it.
Look at it a lot. And then if you run into any kind of issue, like anybody, like things that you run in, that's where you let Emily know.
Yeah.
It's like,
please.
This is the, seriously. I mean, I remember last time it was just, unbelievable. I mean, I literally I was like in awe of being able to kind of have, this kind of, local elections, being able to kind of look at them at such, like, at this level. I mean, it's unheard of, right? So this is the kind of thing that, maybe way back in the day at the height of local newspapering, you would see this kind of stuff, but that's been virtually gutted from our collective knowledge. And so this is just like invaluable.
I feel like most people now, like most newspapers that still do anything, just send out a survey.
Yep.
And hope for people to send it back. And then they just print the responses, which I don't agree with that methodology. Having gotten one of those surveys and answered it, well, two. I got one for the Sentinel and one for Penn Live. It's, and it's one article and it's for one thing. I just don't like the way it works. So we're doing it differently. And I would say it's more like Ballotopedia or, real repositories for a bunch of information,
Yeah,
where you can search for specific people.
Yep. And it's the kind of stuff that's actually going to help you think through like why you're going to vote for somebody, why you might choose X, Y, and Z. I always remember, always the big joke was, for local elections, you'd look at, and again, answer the surveys or whatever, and then we get the reporting on it. And so you have both candidates. What do they believe in? Freedom, right? Working together, no divisiveness, right? I mean, it's like, come on. They're just like random kind of spin and PR moves. It's not actually any kind of useful, understanding of what these people are doing and what they stand for. So.
Right. Yeah. And I would like to say that we have a couple categories that I've narrowed it down to of information that we look for people. Besides contact information, it's like, education, occupation, public service, community service, and key issues. Those are the things that we tried to get information on. We may or may not have that for all of them. But that's generally what we're looking for, because I think that's important, the important pieces. And freedom is not an answer to any of those questions.
Right. Exactly. So. Exactly.
Yes. So I hope it continues to go smoothly. I haven't run into any hiccups. It's just the massive amount of organization of it. But the nice thing is, in the fall, we'll be ready to go. We'll have all the information. We might get more information on some candidates and add that in there. So, and then moving forward, we've already got one for, the state and federal elections. And then after this, we're going to have one for the municipal elections, which covers all elections going forward. So I'll never have to do this process of building these again.
It's pretty awesome.
I mean, that's a lie, because if I go to another county, I'm going to have to put in the municipalities and the school districts.
But at least you'll have gone through it. I mean, you'll have gone through the whole process at least.
Yeah, it's a big process, but I'm excited to have it done. And I think people are going to find it easy to use and hopefully helpful. But I need to get it done because the election is in 18 days. And I'd like people to have some time to look at it. And then after that, we're going to be launching I think we've named it, the Bucks County Community Business Hub.
Yep. I saw the poll that was up there asking people to kind of what they thought about it.
I put the poll up there.
That was cool.
Yeah. And then I got a million spams.
Oh, really?
And it was also not the most, the thing about surveys and polls is it matters where you put the answers and
I know,
the order.
Yep.
And then, so if people just want to get rid of it, they choose the first one. Bucks County Progressive Business Alliance, which I got a lot of those, and they were attached to spam comments, because, there's a contact form and you can add spam to it. Perfect. So but the second biggest was the Bucks County Community Business Hub. So I think we're going to go with that because I think it makes sense. So I'll be building that after I finish with this. And we're also launching a new 2025 media kit to go sell some ads. which is 95% done right now. So yeah, there's a lot of plates in the air right now.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping they all come down really soon so we can move on and do other things.
Well, there you have it. And this is exactly the reason why that we need to close the show right now. Because
I have work to do.
Yes, I always like, yeah.
This is my escape. Don't make me leave.
Exactly. You're like, no, don't make me.
What else do you want to talk about? Let's go.
Hey, did you see that show? No. Oh, God.
Be a boss, they say. Entrepreneurship is fun.
Yeah, exactly. Be your own boss, they say. It'll be great, they say.
You can work whenever you want,
right,
even
exactly.
till midnight.
Which means every day, all the time, right? Exactly. Crazy. Well, Emily, I do hope that that things go relatively smoothly for the kind of work that you've got to do. Looking forward to seeing that kind of in the near future. You check out that voter guide. It's going to be awesome, everybody. I can promise you that. Thank you all for kind of being there through our stumbling, like figuring out, like, is the TikTok stream working or not thing today?
Will it work or won't it work?
Seriously, I look back on things like this, like days like this, with like real fondness in many ways, because you know, it's a real marker, you know, it's like a real thing that happened, and that it's kind of the beginning of this next thing. I think I love it. So
yeah.
And I appreciate
hoping we
folks.
Find a completely new audience on TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that you folks on TikTok are going to be really psyched that you have found the beacon. So I'll keep it at that. All right, everybody. I wish you all a super weekend. Emily, I hope it's a great weekend for you too as well. Looks like a lot of it's going to be rain, so reasons to stay inside in front of your computer. So, yeah. Woo.
No, I have an outdoor party to go to tomorrow, of course.
Yeah, I know. It's like a bunch of things.
I've got to make chicken this afternoon.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Add it to the list.
Chicken's not going to make itself.
Nope.
No, nothing does. But I wish everybody a great weekend, and just I hope you're keeping up your spirits. And if you're looking for something to do, I mean, again, check out the Beacon about upcoming stuff that's happening in the area. And if you're looking for something just to kind of do, if it doesn't get rained out tomorrow, you could head on over to Percy, 6th Street between 1 and 6 p.m. They got a block party there. It's great. Mystic Ways Brewing is kind of right outside. The Rams Tap House is kind of on the right down the street from that. Free Will is down the road a little bit. Or if you've got a bunch of kids looking for something to do, Art in the Park, good crafting stuff and all that stuff, look for those opportunities too as well, so you're not just kind of staring at your screen if you can avoid it. So
yeah, find Kevin on the street.
Yeah, there you go. Woohoo! Yeah, great. All right, everybody, this is Kevin Mahoney, and this has been the Friday News Lunch. Make sure you head on over to buckscountybeacon.com, hit the support the Beacon button, and become a supporter today for as little as $1 a month, everybody. $1 a month, right? Become a supporter and keep this sustainable into the future. All right, everybody, we are heading off into the future. Here we go. Optimism. Yes. All right. We'll see you, Emily.
See you, Kevin.
See y'all.